Lights floated in the air like slow fireflies, changing color as buyers moved from stall to stall. The ground was warm underfoot, made of smooth stone that carried power through the city. Voices overlapped in many languages. Some were sharp, some musical, some deep and buzzing. The smell of spice, metal, oil, and living creatures mixed into a heavy fog that stayed low and thick. At the center of the market stood the fountain. It was tall and round, built from dark crystal in silver bands. Soft blue liquid flowed upward instead of down, pulled by hidden force, then vanished into thin air. The fountain was not for beauty. It was for waste. Broken tools, failed food, dead machines, and unwanted things were thrown into its base. The system inside broke everything down and reused the energy. The market depended on it. Beside the fountain, chained to a thick metal post, sat a girl. Most people did not look at her. Those who did looked only for a moment. Her skin was pale with a faint glow under it, like light trapped behind ice. Her hair was long and dull, hanging in thin lines around her face. A metal collar circled her neck, connected to heavy chains that ran down her arms and legs. Symbols on the chains pulsed slowly, matching the rhythm of the fountain. A small sign stood near her feet. Waste product, do not touch, do not speak. Property of the market court children were pulled away if they wandered too close. Sellers shouted louder when buyers slowed near her. Guards walked past often, their eyes forward, hands near their shock rods. The girl sat still, head lowered, as if she were already part of the ground. Her name was Luma. No one in the market used it. When the human arrived, the market reacted before anyone noticed him. Humans were rare here. Not forbidden, but uncommon. The stalls closest to the entry gate adjusted prices automatically. Guards watched him longer than usual. Some buyers stepped aside, curious. Others turned away. The human's name was Iren. He walked slowly, hands open, eyes moving over everything. He wore simple clothes, dark and worn, with a small pack on his back. His boots were dusty from travel. He did not carry a weapon in sight. He had come to trade spare parts and buy fuel. That was all. He had been here before, years ago, but only briefly. He remembered the noise, the size, the way the market felt alive in a way that made his skin itch. He did not remember the girl. He passed the fountain without seeing her at first. His attention was on a display of power cells that flickered in uneven light. He frowned, comparing output numbers when something pulled at his focus. A feeling, not sound, not movement, just a sense that he was being watched. Iran turned. His eyes met hers. Luma lifted her head just enough for their gazes to cross. Her eyes were large and dark, almost black, with thin rings of light deep inside. They were not empty.
They were not dull. They were afraid.
Iren froze. In all the noise of the market, that single look cut through him. He had seen fear before, on battlefields, in refugee camps, in the eyes of people who knew something bad was coming and could not stop it. This was the same. A vendor nearby noticed him staring. "Do not look at that," the vendor snapped. "It is waste, bad for business." Iren did not answer. He took a step closer to the fountain. The guards noticed immediately. One of them shifted position, blocking a direct path to the girl without fully stepping in front of him. "Move along, human," the guard said. Tired. "That item is not for sale." Item Irene swallowed. "What is she?" The guard's eyes hardened. "She is not a what? She is waste." Failed unit. Market property. Irene looked at the sign, then at the chains, then back at her face. Luma's eyes flicked to the guard, then back to Irene. Her hands twitched slightly. The chains hummed, and she went still again, pain flashing across her face before she hit it. Irene felt his chest tighten. Failed at what? He asked. The guard stepped closer now. You asked too many questions. A second guard joined him. Buyers nearby pretended not to listen, but many slowed their steps. A thin trader with metal rings in his ears leaned toward Irene and spoke quietly.
Human, you should leave this alone. The fountain runs the market.
She is linked to it. If you cause trouble, you will not leave. Iran nodded slowly, as if agreeing. But his eyes never left Luma. He backed away, raising his hands slightly. No trouble, he said. Just looking? The guards watched until he blended back into the crowd. Luma lowered her head again. But something had changed. For the first time in a very long time, someone had looked at her like she was real. Iran spent the next hour trying to forget her. He traded parts. He bought fuel. He ate something warm from a street stand. He told himself stories. Maybe she was not alive. Maybe she was dangerous. Maybe this place had rules for reasons he did not understand. None of it worked. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face. He remembered things he did not like remembering. Cages. Camps, labels, words used to make cruelty sound normal. Waste. Product. Property. When the market light shifted toward night mode, dimming slightly, Iran found himself walking back toward the fountain. The crowd had thinned. Music replaced shouting. The guards looked bored now, less sharp. Luma was still there. She had not moved. Iran stopped a short distance away, pretending to examine the fountain. The blue liquid glowed brighter at night, casting soft light over her skin. Up close, he could see marks on her arms where the chains rubbed raw. Small burns circled her wrists. He spoke quietly, not looking at her.
Can you understand me? No answer. The chains pulsed once.
Iran risked a glance. Her eyes were on him. She gave a tiny nod. His breath caught. Can you speak? Her lips parted, then closed again. Her throat moved, as if it hurt to try. She shook her head. Do they hurt you? He asked. The chains pulsed harder. Luma's fingers curled, and she bit her lip to keep from making a sound. Yes, Iran whispered. A guard's footsteps echoed nearby. Iran stepped back, turning away just as the guard passed. When the guard moved on, Iran looked again. Luma's gaze followed him. Slowly, carefully. When no one was watching, she lifted one hand. Just a little. Her fingers reached toward him, stopping inches short as the chain tightened. Her face twisted in pain, but she did not pull away. Iran's heart slammed against his ribs. He did not touch her. He knew better. He knew what shock collars could do, but he leaned in, close enough that only she could hear. I'm sorry, he said. I didn't know. Her lips moved. At first, he thought he imagined it. Then he heard the sound, soft, broken. Itch! Help! The chain flared bright. Luma gasped and collapsed forward, her forehead hitting the metal post. The light faded. She went still again. Iran straightened, fury rising, hot and fast. His hands clenched at his sides. A nearby merchant laughed. You see?
Broken thing makes noise when it glitches. Iran forced himself to breathe.
He walked away before he did something stupid, but he did not leave the market. That night he sat in a rented pod above the stalls, staring at the ceiling. The hum of the market vibrated through the walls. He replayed the moment again and again.
Help!
One word. He did not sleep.
By morning, he had made a decision.
And somewhere below, chained beside the fountain, Luma waited, not knowing that the quiet human who had looked at her like a person was already planning how to break the rule no one had ever broken before. The market woke slowly. Light shifted over the crystal fountain, and the chains hummed with their usual rhythm. Luma remained chained in the same spot. Her head hung low, but her eyes followed every movement around her. She had been awake all night, thinking, remembering, hoping. Irene returned before the sun climbed fully. His boots made soft noises against the stone, and his pack felt heavier than usual. Inside were small devices, tools, and a few parts he had traded for in the previous day. But his mind was not on trade. It was on her. The market was already alive with activity. Sellers shouted prices, buyers bargained with quick hand gestures, and guards moved between the stalls, their attention both alert and routine. The smell of hot metal and fried foods mingled with dust and smoke from the lower levels. Aaron walked slowly, weaving between people, keeping his gaze on the fountain. The closer he got, the more he noticed small details. The chains on Luma were connected to a series of power nodes buried in the fountain base. Each node pulsed, sending waves through the metal cuffs, forcing her to stay still. Her eyes were tired. They were frightened. But she was watching him, waiting. Aaron crouched near the edge of the fountain, careful not to touch anything. He whispered, "Can you move at all?" Luma shook her head slightly. She opened her mouth, but only a faint sound came. It was more like a breath than a word. Aaron leaned closer. "I'll figure a way," he said.
I promise. A small voice called from the side.
A thin man with sharp metal rings in his ears appeared at the edge of the fountain. He moved like he was used to sneaking, glancing around to make sure no guards saw him.
You shouldn't be here, he said.
"That thing." Iran looked up. "Dangerous, Hal?" he asked. The man shrugged.
Not to you. Not yet.
The market calls her waste because she failed her function, but she is not like the other failures. She resists. Why? Eren frowned. Resists what? The man leaned closer, lowering his voice. The energy. The system. Everything she touches. She was made for something big, but she refused it. The market cannot allow that. Eren studied Luma. Her chest rose and fell slowly, controlled, careful not to trigger the alarms in the chains.
What is her name? Luma, the man said quietly.
Do not speak it too loud. The wrong people will hear. Iron repeated it softly. Luma's eyes flicked up, recognizing the sound. Her fingers twitched in a subtle motion toward him, restrained but clear. "Why did they chain her like this?" Eren asked. The man shook his head. "They say she failed. But that is only a story to keep the market working. The truth is, she is too strong, too aware. The fountain will destroy her if she tries to leave without permission." And she tried. Eren thought about this. The idea of strength chained, called waste, and left to sit under the sun and artificial light was unbearable. He looked around, scanning for guards. The ones nearby were focused on other buyers and merchants. Timing mattered. "What do you know about breaking the chains?" Iren asked cautiously. The man's eyes widened slightly. "You are a human. You do not understand the technology fully. The chains are connected to the market core. Remove them without skill, and she will die instantly. Even a spark could fry her neural links. Do you want that?" Iren's hands clenched. "I want to help. I will not let her die." The man hesitated, then nodded slightly. "There is a way. A disruptor. You can find one in the scrap district, but it is illegal, dangerous, and someone will notice if you take it. Even humans are watched." Irene considered this. Luma's fingers twitched again. He knew he could not waste time. If he delayed, the market would enforce more restrictions. She might be moved, reset, or worse. "I will find it," he said. The man motioned to the back alleys. "Go now, before the morning patrol tightens." Iren left, moving quickly but carefully. The streets twisted, lined with metal stalls, tubes carrying strange liquids, and wires sparking from overloaded circuits. The scrap district was chaotic. Machines, broken robots, and discarded devices piled in every corner. Merchants shouted over the noise, selling parts to anyone with money or barter. He found the scrap dealer at the end of a long alley, a woman with short, uneven hair and tattoos that glowed faintly across her arms. Her name was Rek. She looked at him with suspicion. "Human. What brings you here?" "I need a disruptor," Iren said simply. "For a chain system. A fountain guard device." Rek's eyebrows rose. "You are playing a dangerous game. That system is monitored. Do it wrong, and the market will hunt you down." "You know that." "I do," Iren said. "But I can't let her stay chained. She is alive." Rek studied him, her fingers moving over small devices on her table. "I will sell it to you, but know this. One mistake, 1 second too late, and she dies. The device is unstable in the wrong hands." "I understand," Iren said. His jaw tightened. "I will be careful." The woman handed him the device, small, metallic, humming softly with contained energy. He felt its weight, not heavy, but alive. It pulsed faintly in his hand. He nodded thanks and left quickly, staying in the shadows. By the time he returned to the fountain, Luma was still there. She had not moved, but the tension in the chain seemed stronger, as if sensing the attempt. He crouched again. "Careful. I brought this," he whispered. "I will try to free you." Her eyes widened slightly. He saw hope there, fragile but real. He held the disruptor near the chains, aiming it carefully. The device reacted to the energy in the links, humming louder. Luma's hands lifted slightly, restrained but reaching. The chains flared, causing a low pulse in the ground beneath them. A guard's footsteps echoed in the distance. Iren froze. He risked a glance at Luma. She was watching every motion, every flicker of the chains. Her energy matched the device. Something inside her was reacting, stronger than expected. He had to act fast. He aimed the disruptor again. Careful, slow. Sparks flew along the metal. One link heated. Luma winced but did not cry out. The chain loosened slightly. The hum faded. Another step. Another spark. The link unlocked. Luma's hand twitched freely for the first time in years. A small gasp escaped her lips. Iren froze, listening. The guards were closer now, She tried to move further but flinched as the chain restrained her again. Irin adjusted the device. The pulsing from the fountain was growing stronger, almost aggressive. It was aware that its control was being challenged. He whispered, "Almost there. Stay still." Her dark eyes locked on him. She nodded once. Her lips moved, forming the word, "Thank
You?" A shout came from behind. One of the guards had seen him.
Iron did not wait. He triggered the disruptor fully. Sparks and bright light shot across the fountain base. Luma's chains melted away instantly, and she fell into his arms, weak but alive. Alarms rang across the market. Merchants screamed. Buyers ran. Guards rushed toward them. The fountain's hum turned into a low roar, as if it were angry and hurt. Iron held Luma close. She shivered in his arms. Her eyes searched his face. No fear, only trust and relief. "Thank you," she whispered again, this time louder, stronger. He did not answer. The guards were close, too close. He had freed her, but now they had to survive. The market was a cage, and now it knew someone had tried to break it. Luma pressed her face into his shoulder. He could feel her energy thrumming, unsteady but powerful. She was alive, more than the market ever expected, and for the first time Irin realized freeing her was only the beginning of a much larger danger. The crowd outside the plaza froze at the spectacle. No human had ever done this. No one had ever defended waste. And in the stillness everyone realized the rules had changed. Irin held her tight, ready for whatever came next. The alarms screamed like angry beasts across the market. Sparks flew from the fountain, lighting the plaza with bright blue flashes that made shadows dance along the walls. Merchants and buyers scattered, leaving stalls half filled with goods. The smell of burnt metal and ozone hung heavy in the air. Guards rushed toward the fountain in tight formations, their boots pounding the stone as their voices shouted commands. Irin held Luma close, keeping her body low against his chest as he moved backward through the chaos. Her hands clutched his jacket, her nails digging lightly into the fabric, not in fear but in need of balance. She was trembling, not from cold, but from the sudden freedom she had not known she could have. One guard stepped forward, tall and stern, with a long staff of energy in his hands. His eyes narrowed as he saw Irin holding the girl. "Step away from her, human," he commanded. "You are breaking the law." Irin did not answer. He only tightened his hold on Luma and whispered, "Stay calm. Don't fight. Not yet." The guard advanced, but Irin moved faster. He pushed past the first wave of guards, dodging a second as sparks from the fountain shot toward them. Luma gasped, then covered her face. Irin noticed the pulse of energy around her. It was different now. Stronger, more reactive, like she was connecting to the fountain and controlling it, but only partially. Another guard appeared behind them. Irin felt trapped. The plaza was crowded with moving shadows and alarm lights, but there was no path out. He looked around, calculating quickly. Then he saw it. A narrow alley between two market buildings. If he could reach it, the walls would shield them from energy detection long enough to move further into the district. He ran. Luma clutched him tightly, her body small and light against his. As they moved, the chains that had been melted hung in black twisted shapes at the fountain's base. Sparks flew from them, still reacting to Luma's pulsing energy. He glanced back once and saw the fountain glowing brighter, almost like it had recognized that one of its controlled units had escaped. The alley was dark and narrow, lined with crates and broken machines. Diren pushed past a stack of metal frames, careful not to make a sound that could alert the guards still in pursuit. Luma's breathing was ragged but steadying. He whispered to her, "You're okay. You're safe for now." Her lips moved, forming the word I. Then she stopped. She was trying to speak more, but the energy inside her caused her to tremble. Irin realized the power she contained was unstable. Released suddenly from the chains, her own energy was bleeding out in small pulses. He paused in the middle of the alley, putting her down on a pile of soft sacks. Her feet touched the ground, but she did not step forward. Instead, she looked at him, eyes wide, the first real expression since he had freed her. "I can't control it fully," she said in a voice that was soft, almost broken, yet strong. "If I push too hard, it will hurt me. Hurt them." "Who?" Irene asked. "The market, the fountain, the people near it." Her gaze drifted toward the plaza behind them. "It tries to stop me." "They built it that way." Irin nodded slowly. "We'll figure it out." "You're not alone anymore." Luma's eyes searched his face. She wanted to believe him, but had never known kindness before. Her chains were gone, but the fear of being recaptured was still alive, pulsing in her veins. A shout echoed from the alley entrance. One of the guards had found them. Irin grabbed her hand. "Run!" he shouted. They sprinted toward the next bend, dodging piles of scrap metal and boxes. The guard raised his staff, and a pulse of energy shot toward them. But Luma moved instinctively. She raised her hands, and a small wave of power pushed the blast back, throwing the guard off balance. Irin stumbled, but kept running. "Do you see? You can do it!" he yelled. Luma's face lit up in a mix of fear and determination. Her hands pulsed with light. Small arcs of energy jumped from her fingertips to the walls of the alley. She had never done this before, and it frightened her as much as it thrilled her. The guard recovered and ran after them, shouting for backup. Irin and Luma turned a corner, entering a larger open space filled with rusted vehicles and old market machines. It was empty for the moment, and they had a second to breathe. "You are stronger than they said," Irin said, trying to keep his voice calm. "But you have to control it. Focus on me." Luma nodded, taking a deep breath. Her glowing hands dimmed slightly as she concentrated. The sparks along the walls died down. She looked at him, fear still there, but now mixed with trust. "We need to get to the district edge," Irene said. "There are human traders there. They can hide us." Luma hesitated. "The fountain, it will." "I know," he interrupted. "We'll deal with it later. Right now, we just need to survive." They moved again, faster now, weaving through broken streets, avoiding patrols and guards. Each turn brought a new set of dangers. Loose cables sparking underfoot, drones that scanned the streets, and sudden energy bursts from the fountain reacting to Luma's power. But they kept going. At one point, Luma stumbled, overwhelmed by the pulse of energy still inside her. Iran caught her quickly, holding her steady. "You're okay?" he said. "I've got you." She looked up at him, her eyes filled with gratitude, and whispered, "I never knew anyone cared." He smiled faintly, though fear pressed against his chest. "I care, and I'll protect you." The sounds of pursuit were getting louder. Guards were organized now, using detection drones and scanning devices. Iren and Luma reached a high wall at the edge of a deserted square. He looked up. The only way forward was over the wall, onto the rooftops of the district. Luma hesitated. "I can't fly," she admitted, her voice small. "You don't need to fly," Iren said. He measured the height. "Jump with me. I'll catch you if you fall." The walls were tall, but not impossible. They ran together, building momentum. Luma's hands glowed faintly, energy pulses keeping her balance. They leaped, Irin holding her tight, and landed with a roll that knocked the breath out of him but kept them both safe. From above, the market was a chaotic blur. Sparks and light from the fountain streaked across the plaza below. Guards were regrouping, scanning the streets. Some spotted them. Others did not. Irin looked at Luma. We're not safe yet, he said. I know, she said. Her voice was firm now, steadier. But I can do more. I think I can fight back if I need to. Irin nodded. Then we'll do it together. They moved along the rooftops, hopping over pipes and broken walkways. Each step was calculated. The glow of her energy lit their path, faint but enough to see. They reached a high point overlooking the edge of the market, where the city walls rose into the sky. Beyond was the district where human traders and smugglers hid, but before they could descend, the fountain pulsed violently. Sparks shot upward like lightning. A low hum shook the ground beneath them. Irin looked at Luma. It's sensing you. We need to move now. Luma's hands glowed brightly, her energy swirling around her like a shield. She nodded, determination in her dark eyes. I'm ready, she said. Together they leaped down the remaining distance, using her powers to soften the fall. They landed in a hidden alley in the human district, breathing hard, hearts pounding. Behind them, the market was still alive with chaos, but for the first time, they were hidden, safe for now. Irin set her down gently. Luma looked around, seeing people moving freely, smiling, trading without fear. She had never experienced this. Her chest rose with deep breaths as she tried to calm the energy thrumming inside her. You made it, Irin said, smiling. We're not out of danger, but we've made it this far. Luma looked at him, gratitude shining in her eyes. Thank you, she whispered. I thought no one would ever care. Irin shook his head. No one should ever be treated like waste. Not you, not anyone. For the first time, Luma allowed herself to feel hope. But in the distance, the market had begun to rebuild, organizing new patrols, sending out alerts. Someone would come for them. And Irin knew that freeing her had only started a battle that was bigger than either of them had imagined. They would have to fight, survive, and stay alive. Together, and neither of them had a choice. The human district was quiet compared to the market. Narrow streets wound between tall, stacked buildings, and the air smelled of oil, cooked food, and metal. Here, traders and wanderers moved with freedom, though their eyes were always alert. Every shadow could hide danger. Every doorway could hide a spy. Irin led Luma carefully through the streets, keeping her close. Her glowing hands hovered at her sides, still pulsing faintly from the energy she had released at the fountain. She was tired, weak, but awake. Her breathing was shallow, controlled, as if she was learning how to manage the power that had been restrained for years. Can you move without me? Irin asked. Luma shook her head. Not yet, she admitted. I need your help. I don't know how far I can push myself. He nodded, understanding. The city around them was filled with hidden dangers, and she was still learning her own limits. But he had made a choice. He would not leave her. Not now. Not ever. A figure appeared in the shadows ahead, moving silently between the buildings. Irin held up his hand to stop. Luma stiffened. The figure stepped into the light. A woman, tall and thin, with short hair and bright green eyes, studied them carefully. She wore a utility belt filled with tools and devices, and her presence radiated confidence.
"You're human," she said, voice steady but cautious. "And you're carrying her."
Who are you? Iron straightened. I'm Erin. I freed her from the market. She's not waste. She's alive. The woman's eyes flicked to Luma. Her gaze softened slightly, but caution remained.
You don't understand what you've done,
She said. That market will not let this go. They have rules, and no one has ever broken them.
But she's a person. She deserves freedom. The woman nodded slowly.
I'm Tira. You've come to the human district. You are safe here for now, but not for long. The market will come for her, and they won't stop until they have control again. Luma's eyes followed Tira. Safe for now, she repeated. Her voice was soft, unsure. She had never experienced kindness. She had never felt safe. Her mind had been filled with fear and chains for so long that the concept of safety felt strange. Yes, Tira said. For now. But you need to move. Hide, learn. She's powerful, and if the market realizes she can control the energy in their fountain, they will send more than guards. They will send enforcers, machines, and maybe worse. Erin looked at her, worry growing. Can she fight them? Tira shook her head.
Not yet. She doesn't understand her own strength.
If she fights without control, she could destroy herself. Or the city. I want to fight, she said softly. But I don't know how. Irene touched her shoulder gently. Then we learn together. You don't have to do this alone. Tira stepped closer. I can help. There are people here who know about the market systems, who understand energy control. You'll need allies if you want to survive. Erin nodded. Then we will need to find them. They moved through the district cautiously. Luma stayed close to Irene, energy humming softly at her fingertips. She practiced small pulses as they walked, careful not to draw attention. Sparks flickered briefly in the air when she tried, then disappeared. She learned quickly, testing boundaries, feeling the rush of power without letting it explode. They arrived at a small courtyard hidden by overhanging buildings and scaffolding. Tira gestured for them to sit. This is safe, she said, for a short time. You need rest. Energy control is difficult. She may have freed herself physically, but mentally, the chains are still in her mind. Luma lowered herself to the ground, knees drawn to her chest. She watched the shadows shift and the city glow in soft, dim lights. They said I was broken, she whispered, that I was useless, that I should be thrown away. Erin knelt beside her. They lied. You are not broken. You're stronger than they know, stronger than anyone expects. Her dark eyes met his. But what if I can't control it? What if I hurt someone? You won't, he said firmly. Not if we stay together. We'll figure it out. You're not alone. Tira studied Luma closely. She is remarkable, she said. Most failures do not survive the market, or if they do, they are broken forever. She is alive, aware, and learning to control the energy on her own. That is unusual. Luma looked at Tira. Can you teach me? She asked softly. I want to be strong, not for the market, not for them. For me, Tira nodded. I can help you learn. But you must understand this. Every time you use your power, the market will notice. They will send hunters, enforcers, anyone to bring you back. Erin put his hand over hers. Then we'll face it together. We'll be ready. Luma closed her eyes for a moment, letting the words sink in. She had never had someone care about her safety before. She had never had someone offer help without expectation. She had only ever known chains, punishment, and fear. Now she had a choice. A small alarm sounded in the distance. Tyra frowned.
They are searching nearby. You won't be safe here long.
We need to move soon. Iran and Luma stood quickly. Luma's hands glowed faintly as she tested her control. Sparks danced between her fingers but did not spread. She felt the rhythm of her own energy, the pulse that had been suppressed for years. She could feel it, alive inside her, waiting to be shaped.
We can do this, Irene said. We can control it.
We have to, Tira nodded. First, we need allies, others who understand the market's power. There are a few humans here who can help, people who are not afraid to challenge the rules. They will teach her to fight without losing herself. Luma looked at Iran, her eyes wide. I want that. I want to be free, not just from chains, but from fear, from everything. Iron smiled softly. Then that's what we'll do. We'll learn. We'll fight. And no one will ever tell you that you're useless again. The sound of distant footsteps grew louder. Guards were still searching, unaware of the alleyways and paths only humans and locals knew. Tira motioned for them to follow her. Come, she said. We must move before they find us. Every moment we wait, the risk grows. Irin took Luma's hand. Together they followed Tira through twisting streets, moving quickly and silently. Shadows became their allies. Small bursts of Luma's energy lit their path when needed, but she kept it controlled, mindful of the attention it could draw. As they reached the edge of the district, Luma took a deep breath. Her chest rose and fell steadily, energy flowing through her in small pulses, no longer chaotic. For the first time, she felt capable, even if just a little. I can do this, she whispered. Yes, Iren said, squeezing her hand. You can, and we'll make sure no one ever tells you otherwise again. Above them, the city hummed with life, unaware of the small human and alien who had escaped the chains of the market and were beginning to rise stronger together against the rules that had once bound them. But far away, the fountain still pulsed in anger, sensing the broken rule, feeling the loss, and sending waves of energy that would not rest until it reclaimed control. And Irin, Luma, and Tira knew that freedom would not come easily. Every step forward would be a test, every shadow a threat, and every choice a battle. Yet, for the first time, they also knew that some rules were meant to be broken. And some chains, no matter how strong, could never hold what truly wanted to be free. The human district was quiet now, but the calm was only temporary. Shadows lingered along the walls, stretching long under dim lights, and the faint hum of energy from the fountain could still be felt in the air. Iron led Luma through narrow streets, her hands glowing softly with controlled pulses as she practiced small bursts. Every movement was careful, measured. The slightest mistake could draw attention. Tira walked beside them, eyes scanning constantly. The market knows she is gone, she said quietly. They will send more than gods. They have enforcers, machines built to track energy, and hunters who will not stop until she is chained again. Luma looked up, worry flickering across her face. Then why are we still moving? Why not fight them? Irin shook his head. We fight when we are ready. Right now, the best fight is to survive, to learn control, and to find allies who can help. They reached a hidden courtyard behind a small market building. The walls were high, the gates reinforced with steel, and inside were others who had escaped the reach of the fountain. Humans, aliens, and hybrids moved quietly, some tending to small workshops, others repairing devices. There was a sense of order in the chaos, a hidden community surviving beneath the city's surface. "This is the place," Tira said. "They will teach her to control her power without drawing attention. They will help her understand her limits and her strength." Luma stepped inside slowly. Her eyes scanned the faces around her. People looked at her curiously, some with caution, others with recognition. She realized that some had been marked as waste too, discarded for failing the market's expectations, yet they survived here. For the first time, she felt a sense of belonging. A man with a cybernetic arm approached him. "You are the one from the fountain?" he asked, voice low and cautious. "They told us you were gone, that the chains had finished their work." "I am Luma," she said softly.
"I am free." The man studied her, then nodded. "You will need guidance."
"You cannot do this alone. Come with me." He led them to a small workshop filled with tools, energy devices, and protective gear. The walls were lined with monitors showing the city, sensors, and energy readings. Others worked quietly, creating devices to shield themselves from detection, repairing broken machines, and monitoring for market activity. "This is your training," the man said. "You will learn to control your energy, to fight if needed, and to protect yourself without revealing too much. The market is always watching." Luma stepped forward, her hands glowing faintly as she tested the limits of her power. Small sparks danced along her fingertips, illuminating the dark workshop. I don't want to hurt anyone," she said. "You won't," the man replied. "You will learn to channel it, to focus it. The chains tried to control you. Now we will teach you to control yourself." Iran stayed beside her, watching every movement.
"You are stronger than you realize," he said. "You survived the fountain, the chains, and the guards."
"That takes strength alone." Luma's eyes softened. "I feel different," she admitted. "I feel like I can be someone else. Someone who isn't just waste." Tira smiled faintly. "You are not waste. Never were. That market only wanted you to believe it." Training began slowly. Luma learned to pulse energy in small, controlled bursts. She practiced moving it along her arms, shaping it, stopping it before it became unstable. Each time she succeeded, her confidence grew. She learned to sense the environment, to feel the energy around her, and to adjust her power to blend with it rather than fight against it. Days passed, but the market did not rest. Scouts, drones, and patrolling guards continued searching, following faint traces of Luma's energy. Irin and Tira kept her moving within the district, teaching her how to hide, to mask her presence, and to read the signs of detection. Irin and Tira, one night, as the moonlight filtered through the rooftops, a scout approached too closely. Luma sensed it before Irin did. She held out her hands, a pulse of controlled energy creating a shield that deflected the scout's scanner. Irin's eyes widened. "That was incredible," he said. "I felt it," Luma replied. "I can do more if I try, but I am not ready yet." Tira stepped forward. "Control comes first. Power comes later. If you lose control, you will be captured or worse." Luma nodded, understanding the weight of her training. She had freedom, yes, but freedom came with responsibility. Every moment she used her power, the market could respond. Every pulse could draw attention. Despite the constant threat, she felt a sense of pride. She was learning, growing, and surviving in a way she had never imagined. She was no longer a product, no longer waste. She was Luma, and she was alive. Irin watched her, admiration in his eyes. "You're amazing," he said. "Every step you take is proof that they were wrong." Luma smiled faintly. "I just want to keep going," she said. "I want to see how far I can go." Tira's eyes were sharp. "That ambition is good. But remember, the market will come for her. We must be ready. Allies will arrive soon. Others who know the systems better than I do. They will teach her not just to survive, but to fight back if necessary." Luma's eyes widened. "Fight back?" "Yes," Tira said. "Not for revenge, not for anger, for freedom. To show the market that no one can claim life as property, that no one can decide who is waste and who is not." Irene took her hand gently. "We'll face it together. You are not alone anymore, and we will make sure no one ever controls you again." The night was quiet now, but far away the market pulsed with anger. Energy waves rippled through the fountain, sensing the broken rule, feeling the loss of control. Enforcers were being prepared. Machines were activated. The hunt for Luma had only begun, and though the district was hidden, the knowledge of her presence would spread quickly. Every ally they found, every lesson Luma learned, would be necessary for the battles ahead. Luma looked at Iren and Tira. She had survived the chains, the fountain, and the market guards. She had freedom now, but she understood the cost. She was powerful, yes, but she was still learning, still vulnerable. And far away, in the market, systems were already adjusting, preparing for the moment when they would come for her again. But Luma was ready to face it, not as a product, not as waste, but as herself. And Iren knew that the human who had freed her and the alien girl who had survived chains were no longer just surviving. They were preparing for a confrontation that could change everything. And in the quiet of the district, as energy pulsed faintly through the walls, Luma made a silent vow she would never be chained again, no matter the cost. The market might come for her. Enforcers might hunt her. The fountain might scream in anger, but she would not run. Not this time. Not ever. The day began with a tense quiet over the human district. Luma stood on the edge of a rooftop, looking down at the streets below. Her hands glowed faintly, small pulses of energy rippling over her skin. Iren was beside her, calm but alert, eyes scanning the horizon. Tira had gone ahead to check on potential allies, leaving them to prepare for what was coming. The market had discovered her location. Reports, energy traces, and sightings had reached the enforcers. Already patrols were moving closer. Machines designed to detect power surges and track unusual energy patterns. Luma's chest rose and fell as she focused on controlling her own energy. The chains were gone, but the echoes of their control were still in her mind, a reminder of the years she had spent restrained.
"We have to leave soon," Iren said. "They'll come with machines."
Faster than guards, faster than anything we've seen. Luma shook her head. "No," she said, "I am not running anymore. They want me to be scared. They want me to hide. I will not." Iren looked at her, worry and pride mingling in his expression. "You ready?" "I think so," she said. "I've learned. I've practiced. I know my limits. I won't fail again." A low hum rose from the city below. The market's energy systems were adjusting, focusing on her presence, reacting to her freedom. Machines appeared in the streets, sleek and angular, with glowing sensors scanning for pulses of power. The humans and allies in the district readied themselves, taking positions, hiding devices, and preparing for a fight. Iron and Luma moved through the streets carefully, her energy lighting the path just enough for them to see. The first machines appeared, moving silently but fast. Luma's eyes widened, then narrowed as she raised her hands. Small arcs of energy jumped from her fingertips, hitting the nearest machines. Sparks flew. The metal bent, twisted, and the devices collapsed under her controlled force. The enforcers were closer now. Luma's energy pulsed, and she realized she could sense the flow of power in the machines. They were designed to detect her, to track her, to bring her back. But now she was the one controlling the flow. She focused, directing small bursts to each machine in sequence. One by one they fell, disabled without her even touching them physically. Iran watched in awe.
You're incredible,
He whispered. Control, she said. I have to control it, not let it control me. The market's main enforcer appeared then, larger than the others, with a heavy staff that pulsed with energy. His sensors detected her presence immediately. He stepped forward, and the ground vibrated with the hum of his machines. You will return to the fountain, he said in a cold, metallic voice. You are property. You cannot escape. I am not property, Luma shouted, her voice echoing through the streets. Her hands glowed brighter, energy forming a shield around her. I am alive. I am free! The enforcer moved closer, striking with his staff. Luma raised her hands and directed energy toward him. The staff collided with her shield, sparks flying in every direction. She pushed, and the force sent him backward, stumbling, but unbroken. Iran moved beside her, keeping her steady. Focus on the flow, he said. You control it. You decide. She closed her eyes, feeling the pulse of energy inside her and around her. The machines, the enforcers, the fountains, they were all connected in a web of power. She was part of it now, not as a slave, but as a master of her own ability. With a sudden surge, she sent a wave of energy through the enforcer's staff. It shattered in his hands. Sparks flew across the streets. He roared, charging forward, but Luma's control was precise. She directed the energy to create barriers, shields, and controlled bursts that kept him at bay. The other enforcers moved in, machines rolling behind them. Luma and Iran moved through the streets, careful but confident. Each step Luma took, she learned more about her power, the limits, and the potential. She was no longer afraid. She was alive, strong, and determined. Tyra appeared from the side streets with reinforcements. Humans and aliens who had survived the market's control joined the fight. Small bursts of energy, clever traps, and coordinated attacks disabled machines before they could reach Luma. The main enforcer returned, more furious than before. He raised a larger device designed to drain her energy. Luma faced him directly, her dark eyes steady. I will not be taken again, she said. Energy pulsed from her hands in strong waves, meeting the device with equal force. Sparks flew, light blinding for a moment. Iran held her arm, keeping her grounded. You can do it. You are stronger than they are. Luma focused, every pulse of energy controlled, every thought directed. The enforcer's device overloaded under her control, exploding in a burst of sparks that threw him backward. He rose slowly, eyes wide, surprised at her strength. She did not hesitate. Another pulse sent him fleeing, his machines disabled and broken. The streets were quiet now. The remaining enforcers had retreated, regrouping at a distance. Luma stood in the middle of the street, glowing faintly, hands still pulsing with controlled energy. She looked at Iran and Tira, her expression calm and proud. "I am free," she said softly. "No one can control me again." Iran smiled. "You've proven that. And you've shown them that they cannot decide who is waste and who is not." Tira nodded. "You have done more than survive. You have shown power and control. The market will think twice before trying this again." Luma looked around at the city. Machines were broken and forces retreating, but the streets were alive with people. She realized that her actions had inspired others who had been controlled, chained, or considered useless. They saw strength where the market had seen weakness.
I want to help them, Luma said. I want to show everyone that no one should be treated as waste.
Iran held her hand.
"Then we will. Together."
The sun rose higher, light spilling over the rooftops. Luma felt the warmth on her skin, the pulse of life around her, and the freedom she had earned. The fountain in the market pulsed angrily in the distance, but its control had failed. Luma had broken the chains, defied the rules, and survived. For the first time in her life, she was not afraid. And as the city watched, stories spread quickly of the human who had freed the alien girl, and of the alien girl who had survived chains, machines, and the fountain's control. She became a symbol, a living proof that no one should be discarded as waste. Irene and Luma stood together looking at the streets below. The fight was over, but the lesson remained. Chains could be broken, rules could be challenged. Life could not be owned, and in that moment, Luma knew she would never be chained again. She was free. The market might regroup, enforcers might return, and machines might rise again. But she would face it all, not as a product, not as waste, but as herself, alive, powerful, and unbound. And Aaron knew, as he watched her, that the universe had witnessed something extraordinary. A species that had once been considered weak had shown courage, strength, and heart, changing everything it touched. The fountain would pulse again, machines would be repaired, but the memory of the chains, the fight, and the freedom Luma had earned would remain. No one would ever look at waste the same way again. And Luma, the alien girl once chained beside the fountain, had finally found her place in the world. Not as property, not as a product, but as herself, alive, free, and unbroken.